Hello, everyone. Today's lesson, we will be just reviewing slope. Every way we have learned how to find slope this year, we're going to take a day and review it. So we will be able to complete our lessons on Wednesday of this week and Monday of next week. What we've also learned with our functions unit is that slope can also be used by the term rate of change. These are interchangeable words, they mean the same thing. One way in which we have computed slope this year or looked at slope is through an equation. So I have two equations here. The one on the left side, y equals negative 4x plus 3, is in slope-intercept form. When an equation is in slope-intercept form, it's really easy to determine the slope of this equation. It's the coefficient of x. So in this case, our slope is negative 4 because negative 4 is the coefficient of x. When you come over to the right-hand side, though, our equation is in standard form. And when an equation is in standard form, we need to change it to slope-intercept form to be able to determine what the slope of this line is, or of this function. So we have the equation x plus 2y equals 10. When I'm doing this, I want to get it into y equals mx plus b form, our slope-intercept form. And in order to do that, I need to get rid of this x term on the left-hand side. To remove it from the left-hand side, I have to do the opposite. It's a positive x, so I subtract it from both sides. And when I subtract it from both sides, when I come over to the right-hand side, the only thing on the right-hand side of the equal sign is a 10. Now a 10 and a negative x or a negative 1x are not like terms, so they cannot be combined. So I'm simply just bringing it over. Now I'm going to put this x term first because we like it to be in y equals mx plus b form. So I'm just writing this negative 1x, and then I just brought down this 10. The 10 happens to be positive because there's no sign in front of it, so it's plus 10. So I'm really close to having this in slope-intercept form now that I've moved the x to the right-hand side, but I have it in 2y equals. I don't want two y's, I only want one. So whatever your coefficient of y is, if it's something other than positive 1, you need to divide every term by that. So not only do I need to divide the 2y by 2, I need to divide the negative 1x by 2, and I need to divide the positive 10 by 2. In doing so, here 2 divided by 2 is 1, so it cancels out, or I have 1y. So y equals negative 1 divided by 2 is just simplified to the fraction negative 1/2 x, and then 10 divided by 2 is 5. So now that this equation is in slope-intercept form, the slope is the coefficient of x, so the slope of this equation is negative 1/2. Another way we learned how to find slope this year was through a graph. You're very familiar with rise over run. So when we have a linear function or a line, we can simply find the slope of the line by finding 2 points. Remember, those points have to go through the grid marks of the graph. And in this case, we're going to count how many units it rises and how many units it runs to go from one point to the other. Before we do this, we like to look at our lines. I can see that this line is increasing left to right. Therefore, I do know that the slope of this line will be positive. Remember, signs are always very important. So as I am trying to find my way from this point, the leftmost point, to the rightmost point, I'm going to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units up, and then to the right 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units to the right. So another way to say rise over run is change in y over change in x. So we have positive 5 over positive 8, or the slope of this line is 5/8. The third way we have computed or found slope this year was through ordered pairs. If you're given 2 points on the line, x1 and y1, and then x2 and y2, we can use our slope formula, which is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. There we go. Now that disappeared, you can see it better. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 is the way we compute slope. So here's our ordered pairs. We have 2 points, -2, -1, and 4, 3, and we simply put it into our formula. As you recall this year, we would label them. This would be x1. This one would be y1, x2, y2. So in my formula, which is y2 minus y1, I take my y2 value, substitute it in, minus, and then my y1 value. And then on the bottom, x2, which is our 4, minus x1, which is -2. And now compute 3 minus -1 is 4, 4 minus -2 is 6, and then we always simplify our fractions. So 4 6 equals 2/3. So the slope of this line that goes through the points -2, -1, and 4 3 is 2/3. The last way we have learned, and the newest way in our most recent lesson, was through a table. Okay, so if we have this table right here, this looks familiar. I took it right out of the last lesson we did. We would determine the change in these points. Now I could use our formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 and just use any two of these ordered pairs, maybe -2, -7, and -1, -1. But I find this way a little bit easier with tables. So I can see that from -7 to -1. So I'm looking at the y column first. That's like my rise or the change in my y values. I can see that from -7 to -1, it increases by 6. From -1 to 5, it increases by 6. From 5 to 11, it increases by 6. And then from 11 to 17, it increases by 6. Now do the same thing for your run or your x values. From -2 to -1, it increases by 1. -1 to 0, it increases by 1. 0 to 1, it increases by 1. And 1 to 2, it increases by 1. So I can take all the matches. So +6 over +1, +6 over +1. We can see it's the same all the way throughout. Therefore, the slope of this table or this function table is +6 or 6 over 1. So the slope would be 6 over 1. So if I were to graph this, the slope would be 6. So now you're going to have an assignment, simple 8 questions, 2 of each type, where you're just determining just the slope of each situation. Good luck. Don't forget, we will have a meet Wednesday, periods 3 and 5 at noon, periods 1 and 6 at 12:30. You can save questions for then, or if you have questions, don't forget you can email me at any time. I can set up a Google Meet and we can even go one-on-one and I can help you. Just contact me if you need any help. Good luck.